Friends, it's so great to see you and to get this group of us together, members of the JFFLabs leadership team who are just now back from a great trip out to San Diego to be present for ASU+GSV. So I wanted to start by asking this group, first of all, what was your biggest insight or learning from ASU+GSV this year? I am Alex Swartsel. I'm the Managing Director of Insights at JFFLabs. Eugene, why don't we start with you? Would love to hear your thoughts about big insights, key learnings from ASU+GSV this year.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. Eugene, Managing Director of Lifelong Learning here in JFF Labs. And obviously, from the title, you'll probably pick up on a theme that I was really looking forward to extracting from San Diego was really around aspects of learning. And so, thematically, what resonated with me was skills, skills, skills. Lots of conversations around skills taking place at ASU GSV. And a lot of the insights that were derived were just a few years ago, a lot of the conversations were on skills versus degrees. Today, it seemed like more along the lines of this concept of skills has taken root. And a lot of people are now starting to think through ways of mobilizing around this theory of skills. So whether it's talking through the technical on how do we actually define them, what are taxonomies versus ontologies, to actual a lot of the architecture on how aspects of systematizing skills within HR systems or in higher education and how to unbundle a degree to extract skills, I think was front and center. I think the insight that I poured from it is that we are still at that debate point on whether or not we need a unified approach to skills, or if that's even necessary, or if more of an emphasis on the ability to crosswalk skills should be more front and center than that.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Alex. And I'm Taj Eldridge. I'm the Managing Director for Climate Innovations here at JFF Labs. I think for me, one of the most interesting experiences and conversation from GSV ASU was the weather. It was very cold, San Diego. And that's an anomaly, given that the time that we were in. But I will tell you this, though, that coldness allowed us to have this conversation about the environment and climate. So for me, that was really interesting because it was on top of mind of a few folks that were there. But also, that was really eye-opening for me. There were several schools, ASUs in particular, that are opening up sections in their school to really delve in deep into this and talk more about this. And it's also coming from the students who are requiring some of the learnings that they're doing to have climate incorporated, whether it's in business, whether it's any other area as well. So I think for me personally, it's been a really great opportunity to have these conversations with a lot of folks about the work that we're doing around climate, but also hear from them. Because I think one of the things that we found out about is that there's still a lot of uncertainty. There's still a lot of trying to figure things out. And I think that's a good thing because that allows someone to come in and really add some direction and everything to the conversation and some guidance as well. And I think that that was really exciting for me. The other takeaway I would say was that it was so many people, right? In a post-pandemic environment, it was really great to be around a lot of very smart people that have answers to a lot of the conversations that we're having around the way we're educated, the way we work. And so that was really exciting as well. So I really enjoyed the time. And I would say this, Alex, the last 2 years, I joined ASU at GSV virtually. So this was my first time being there in person. So it was wonderful and great as well.
Kristina, what about you? What's standing out for you?
I love this conversation. A lot. I mean, I think there were over 7,000 people there. So just feeling the energy of people who are passionate about workforce education and everything in between was just amazing. Took a lot of insights away, but I think one area that I'm just noodling on more and more, particularly in the role, and again, I'm Kristina Francis, Executive Director of JFF Labs, and in the work that we do is really looking out and looking at the implications of tools, technologies, and new models. And a lot of times what we're looking at are opportunities and solutions that aren't yet evidence-based, right? We're still learning as we go, and technology is changing so fast. I think we were reminded with all the AI conversations, the metaverse conversations, some of the new opportunities. There's so much going on. We don't have all the answers. We have a lot of ideas. Startups and innovators, visionary leaders, I think, are moving stuff ahead as fast as we can because we have to, and there's still so much that we have to learn. I think Alex, you pointed out around skills, moving from talking about it and theorizing to actually doing and implementing. And once we implement, we learn new insights. In one conversation that I had, I think it was a little over a year ago, a college president actually implemented a multi-generational approach to learning, which I thought was phenomenal. It's new, we haven't really seen it. And so I had an opportunity to ask him how it was going. And one area that he noticed was that the people who were coming to school, or at least being given the opportunity to attend college, were actually people who have been told for years that they could not attend, they weren't the right fit. And those individuals are still having a hard time connecting to college. So even though they have that opportunity right in front of them, there's still a generational, a systemic barrier, an emotional, as you were mentioning, kind of buy-in to something that we think could make a big difference, but there's still stuff that we have to work on. And so that was really standing out to me. Core value for me is the need for these multi-generational approaches, and that the technology can be there, the desire can be there, but there's still some systemic conversations, beliefs that we've got to work through and in order for this to really work. So that's the one that's standing really in the back of my mind. But there were so many amazing conversations. I too, met with people that I knew I was going to meet with, but then had some amazing unintended collisions with some really smart people. We have follow-up conversations. So I really appreciate ASU+GSV and that entire team for creating the opportunity for discussion, learning, and fun.
No, totally. I mean, a lot of the things that I was thinking about that I have been taking away and that have been sitting with me from ASU+GSV are many of the themes that were showing up in everything that you all just talked about. Especially Kristina, I was also paying pretty close attention to the technology conversation. The subtext of the conference this year, I think, was AI, because that was everywhere in the space. We've at JFFLabs, we've done a lot of work around metaverse and XR technology, and so was in a lot of those spaces too. And I think both this idea of what does it actually look like to put these things to work, whether it's skills-based hiring, right? Whether it's understanding how we're actually making connections around climate, whether it is how do we use these technologies, some of which feel like they're right at our fingertips, right? And for anyone who's used ChatGPT, versus other kinds of technologies like a VR headset that can feel a little bit unfamiliar or maybe sometimes overwhelming. The way that adoption is starting to play out is even just juxtaposing those two technologies next to one another. There are obviously many others. It's very, very interesting, and I think speaks to something that has always mattered to me in this work, which is the humans that are at the center of it, right? What is it, technology is pointless if it's not supporting people. And so what does it look like, especially for us as JFF, as we spend more and more time in these spaces, to understand really deeply how you support people to make meaning of new technology advancements, understand them well enough to know how they can be put to use in their day-to-day lived experiences without needing to be, a true expert in the technology, just because that's hard to do, but also to help people get over the adoption curve and figure out ways that they can practically put these tools to use in their own work and on the behalf of the learners and workers that they serve. I was sitting in on a panel on XR, metaverse, VR technology with a lot of the leaders of solution providers that are working in this space. And Kristina, this speaks back to something you were saying a minute ago about the idea that we're focused on promising solutions that may not be proven yet. Some of what I'm hearing and what we're seeing in our own work around those technologies is it works. It does work. We have data that can show that it works, and there's still, adoption is still tricky, right? And so how can we think about what do people need to hear and understand about the space? How much do we need to demonstrate, that technology is workable in all of the different ways that it can work, while simultaneously, working alongside the solution providers and everyone that's working with this technology to understand how it needs to be developed, even more fully, how it can be used better to help support people. The more that we can center human beings with lived experiences, with stories, and to think about how we use technology and all of these innovative models to empower people, that probably obviously is what gets me out of bed in the morning.